Close your eyes and imagine a morning where the dawn refuses to break. The air is heavy with the scent of ash, sharp and bitter, clinging to your throat like a memory of fire. Your fingers brush against the rough wool of your cloak, its fibers damp from the mist that never seems to lift. It's 536 AD, and the world you once knew is slipping into shadow, cloaked in a volcanic winter that has stolen the sun. If you're captivated by tales that weave history with the pulse of human struggle, hit that like button, subscribe, and share in the comments where you're reading or listening, curled up by a fire or gazing at the stars. Tonight, we step into a time when the earth trembled and lives hung in the balance. Take a deep breath and let's begin. The cold wakes you, creeping through the cracks of your small home like an uninvited guest. You lie still for a moment, your breath visible in the faint light that seeps through the wooden shutters. The straw mattress beneath you prickles against your skin, its earthy scent mingling with the faint smoke of last night's fire, now reduced to embers. You rise, your bare feet meeting the packed dirt floor, chilled as if kissed by frost. Outside, the world is wrong. The sky, once a canvas of blue over your village on the outskirts of Constantinople, is now a dull shroud, gray and heavy, as if the heavens have draped themselves in mourning cloth. The sun is a ghost, its light weak and distant, barely warming the earth. Your name is Andreas, a farmer whose hands know the weight of a plow and the rhythm of the seasons. Your home, a modest hut of clay and timber, stands among a cluster of others in a village nestled against a low hill. Normally, the air would hum with life, chickens clucking, the distant clang of the blacksmith's hammer, the laughter of children chasing each other through the dust. But today, silence reigns, broken only by the low moan of the wind, carrying with it a faint grit that settles on your lips, tasting of stone and decay. You pull your cloak tighter, its coarse weave scratching your shoulders, and step outside. The fields, once golden with barley, are dusted with a strange, gray ash that crunches underfoot, like the bones of some forgotten beast. You kneel, running your fingers through the soil. It's cold, damp, and smells of rot rather than life, as if the earth itself has given up. Your heart sinks, heavy with the knowledge that these fields feed your family. Your wife, Kalia, and your daughters, Sophia and little Mara. The harvest was meant to sustain you through winter, but now the stalks lie limp, suffocated under this unnatural snow. You stand, brushing the ash from your hands, and notice your neighbor, Elias, leaning on his staff. His face, weathered like old leather, is etched with worry. "The gods are angry," he mutters, his voice rough as the wind. Or perhaps it's the earth itself, spitting curses. You want to argue, to cling to reason, but the weight of the gray sky presses down, and doubt creeps in like the cold. You recall a story told by a traveler weeks ago, a wiry man with a sunburned face who passed through with a cart of spices. He spoke of a mountain far across the sea. Krakatoa, he called it, that roared and belched fire, sending clouds of ash to choke the heavens. You dismissed it then, a tale for children, but now, as the ash falls softly around you, his words echo like a prophecy. "What do we do, Elias?" you ask, your voice barely above a whisper. He shakes his head, his eyes fixed on the horizon, where the gray meets the gray. "Pray," he says, "and prepare." You make your way to the village square, where a small stone church stands, its walls adorned with faded icons of saints whose eyes seem to follow you. The door creaks as you push it open, the sound sharp in the stillness, like a bone snapping. Inside, the air is thick with the scent of beeswax and myrrh, a faint comfort against the chill that seeps through the stone. Father Niketas, the village priest, stands at the altar, his hands trembling as he lights a candle. The flame flickers, casting shadows that dance like spirits across the walls. The Lord tests us, he says, his voice a low rumble, like distant thunder. But in suffering we find strength. You nod, but your thoughts are elsewhere, on the empty granary, on the hunger already gnawing at your daughters' bellies. Kalia stands beside you, her calloused hand finding yours. Her dark hair is tucked beneath a shawl, and her eyes, sharp and green, hold a quiet resolve. We'll find a way, she whispers, her breath warm against your ear. You remember the night you married her, under a sky bright with stars, the air sweet with wildflowers and the sound of flutes. Now, the world feels stripped of such warmth, but her presence is an anchor, grounding you. You squeeze her hand, feeling the strength in her grip, and wonder if it will be enough. Outside the church, Sophia and Mara wait, their small figures huddled against the wind. Sophia, 9 years old, clutches a woven basket, empty save for a few dried figs that taste of dust. Mara, barely 5, tugs at your cloak, her voice small but piercing. Why is the sky so sad, Papa? Her question cuts deeper than the cold, and you kneel, brushing a strand of hair from her face. It's just sleeping, little one. You lie, forcing a smile. It'll wake soon. But as you stand, the weight of your words feels hollow, like a promise you can't keep. That evening, the village gathers around a bonfire in the square, its flames a defiant glow against the gray dusk. The wood crackles, sending sparks spiraling into the air, and the scent of burning pine mixes with the metallic tang of ash. Old Theodora, the village healer, stirs a pot of barley broth, its steam rising in lazy curls. The broth is thin, flavored with wild herbs that sting the tongue, but it warms your hands as you hold the wooden bowl. You sip slowly, the faint bitterness reminding you of better days, when meals were shared with laughter, not fear. The villagers' voices are low, their words heavy with unease. Some speak of omens, an owl seen at midday, a well gone dry. Others whisper of the city, Constantinople, where the Emperor Justinian is said to pray in his golden palace while his people starve. A young man, Silas, the blacksmith's apprentice, stands near the fire, his fists clenched. They say the markets are empty, he says, his voice sharp, cutting through the murmur. Men fight over scraps, and the rich hoard what's left. You listen, your stomach twisting. The city feels like another world, yet its troubles are creeping closer, carried on the wind like the ash. Kalia sits beside you, Mara curled in her lap. The firelight paints her face in shades of gold, and for a moment, you see the girl you courted, her laughter bright as the summer sun. But now her eyes are shadowed, her lips pressed tight. You want to promise her safety, a future, but the words stick in your throat. Instead, you pull Sophia close, feeling the warmth of her small body against yours. The fire crackles, and you wonder how long it will burn before the wood runs out. As the night deepens, the crowd thins, and you linger by the dying fire, its embers glowing like eyes in the dark. The wind howls, carrying the faint cry of a fox, its sound weaving through the silence like a thread of warning. You think of the traveler's tale again, the mountain that roared, the sky that wept ash. Could one event, so far away, unravel your world? You touch the ground, its cold surface unyielding, and feel a pang of betrayal, as if the earth you've tilled for years has turned against you. You walk home, the path familiar yet strange under the ash-dusted ground. Kalia and the girls are already inside, their soft breathing a fragile comfort in the dark. You sit by the hearth, stirring the embers to coax a flicker of warmth. The room smells of smoke and damp wool, and the silence is heavy, broken only by the creak of the roof under the wind's weight. Then a sound sharp, insistent. A knock at the door. Your heart lurches, your hand pausing on the poker. Who comes at this hour, when the world is cloaked in shadow? Is it a friend with news, or a stranger bearing trouble? In the quiet of this night, as ash falls like a silent snow, you feel the weight of a world transformed. The year 536 AD, as chroniclers later wrote, marked the beginning of a darkness born from a distant volcano, perhaps Krakatoa, though its name was unknown to you. Its eruption sent clouds of ash across the globe, dimming the sun and chilling the earth. Your village, your fields, your family, all caught in the ripple of a single cataclysmic moment. You stand at a crossroads, torn between staying in the home you've always known and seeking answers in the unknown. Who knocks at your door, and what news do they bring? If this story has stirred your imagination, share your thoughts in the comments. What did you feel, standing in Andreas's shoes? Like, subscribe, and join us for the next chapter. For now, the night holds its secrets, and the message at your door will soon spread further. Listen to the wind as it weaves through the village, carrying whispers of a world unraveling. Its chill bites your cheeks, sharp as a blade, and leaves a faint taste of ash on your lips, like the memory of a fire long extinguished. The night is deep, and the stars are hidden behind a veil of gray, as if the heavens themselves are holding their breath. Welcome back to our journey through the volcanic winter of 536 AD, where the earth mourns and humanity clings to hope. If this tale draws you into its shadowed embrace, hit that like button, subscribe, and share in the comments. Where are you now? Lost in this story? By a flickering candle or under a quiet sky? Let's step deeper into the cold, where news spreads like wildfire and choices grow heavy. Breathe slowly and follow me. The knock at your door lingers in the air, sharp and urgent, like the crack of a branch in a silent forest. You, Andreas, stand frozen, the poker still warm in your hand from stirring the hearth's embers. The room is dim, lit only by the faint glow of the fire, its light casting long shadows that flicker across the clay walls, as if the house itself is uneasy. The air smells of charred wood and the damp wool of your cloak, hanging by the door. Kalia stirs, her green eyes catching the firelight as she rises from the straw mattress where Sophia and Mara sleep, their small forms curled together under a patched blanket. "Who's there?" she whispers, her voice steady but edged with caution, like the low hum of a bowstring drawn taut. You move to the door, your footsteps muffled on the dirt floor, each one heavy with the weight of the unknown. The wooden latch is cold against your palm, smooth from years of use, and as you lift it, the hinges groan, a sound that cuts through the stillness like a warning. Outside stands Silas, the blacksmith's apprentice, his broad shoulders hunched against the wind. His face, smudged with soot, is taut, and his breath clouds in the frigid air. "Andreas," he says, his voice low, urgent, "you need to hear this." The wind howls behind him, carrying the faint scent of pine and something sharper, ash, ever present, settling into every crack and crevice of your world. You step aside, letting Silas into the warmth of your home. He brushes past, his boots leaving faint trails of gray dust on the floor, and the cold clings to him like a second skin. Kalia lights a tallow candle, its flame weak but steady, filling the air with a greasy, animal scent. Silas sits by the hearth, his hands clasped tightly, as if to keep them from trembling. A messenger came to the village at dusk. He begins, his words measured, each one landing like a stone in still water. From Constantinople, the emperor's men are calling for aid, grain, men, anything we can spare. They say the city starves, and the ash falls there too. His eyes meet yours, dark and searching. They say the sun won't return. You feel Kalia's hand on your shoulder, her touch firm, grounding. The news settles in your chest, heavy as the ash on your fields. Constantinople, the glittering heart of the empire, is a 3-day journey across hills and rivers that now feel like barriers rather than paths. You've been there once, years ago, when you sold a season's barley at the market. You remember the clamor of the streets, the scent of fresh-baked bread mingling with the salt of the Bosphorus, the golden domes gleaming under a sun that now hides. The thought of that city, vast and mighty, brought low by the same gray sky that chokes your village, sends a shiver down your spine, colder than the wind outside. Morning comes, but it's no brighter than the night. The sky remains a dull, unbroken gray, and the air is thick with the scent of damp earth and decay. You stand at the edge of your field, the soil gritty under your fingers, its cold seeping into your bones. The barley, once tall and proud, lies flattened, as if the earth has exhaled its last breath. You hear the crunch of footsteps behind you. Elias, your neighbor, his staff tapping the ground like a heartbeat. The council meets at noon, he says, his voice rough, like gravel underfoot. They'll decide what to do, stay or send men to the city. His eyes, sunken in their sockets, linger on the ruined field. But what's left to send? You nod, your throat tight. The village council, a handful of elders and farmers, meets in the church, where the air is heavy with the scent of wax and worry. As you walk there, the village feels smaller, its houses huddled together as if bracing against the cold. Children no longer play in the square. Their laughter has been replaced by the low murmur of anxious voices. A dog barks, its sound sharp and fleeting, swallowed by the wind. You pass Theodora's hut, where the faint smell of herbs, rosemary and thyme, drifts from her open door, a reminder of her efforts to keep the village fed with what little remains. Inside the church, the council gathers in a circle of rough wooden benches. Father Nicetas stands at the center, his robes threadbare but clean, his hands clasped around a small cross that gleams faintly in the candlelight. The air is cool, the stone walls slick with damp, and the sound of dripping water echoes faintly, like a clock marking time. The emperor's call is clear, Nicetas says, his voice steady but strained, like a rope fraying at the edges. They need grain, men hope, but we have little to give. He pauses, his eyes scanning the faces around him. Elias, grim and silent. Theodora, her hands knotted in her lap, and others, their expressions a mix of fear and defiance. Silas, who followed you to the meeting, speaks up, his voice cutting through the murmurs like a hammer on iron. If we send what we have, we'll starve here. If we don't, the city may fall, and us with it. His words spark a heated exchange, voices rising like the crackle of a fire. Some argue for staying, guarding what little remains. Others speak of duty to the empire, of the city's walls that have stood for centuries. You listen, your hands clenched, feeling the weight of your family's hunger, the memory of Mara's small voice asking why the sky is sad. You want to speak, to choose, but the words catch in your throat, tangled with fear. That afternoon, you walk with Kalia to the river, a narrow stream that once sparkled under the sun, but now reflects only gray. The water is cold, numbing your fingers as you dip a clay jug to fill it, the faint mineral taste lingering on your tongue. Kalia kneels beside you, her shawl slipping to reveal a braid dusted with ash. "What do you think we should do?" she asks, her voice soft but piercing, like the first note of a song. You look at her, the woman who has shared your burdens through floods and lean years, and feel a pang of guilt for your uncertainty. "I don't know," you admit, the words heavy, like stones sinking into the river. "Stay and starve, or go and risk everything." She nods, her eyes fixed on the water, its surface rippling under the wind's touch. "The girls need us here," she says. "But the city might have food, work, a future." Her words linger, and you feel the pull of two paths. Stay in the village, clinging to the familiar, or venture to Constantinople, where danger and possibility intertwine. The river gurgles, a low, steady sound, like a heartbeat, and you wonder if it carries answers from the wider world. As you return to the village, the air grows colder, the wind sharper, carrying the faint sound of hoofbeats in the distance. You pause, your heart quickening. Hoofbeats mean travelers, and travelers mean news. You glance at Kalia, her face taut with the same question that grips you. What tidings do they bring? The village square comes into view, and you see a small group gathering, their shadows long in the firelight. A stranger stands among them, his cloak tattered, his voice urgent. You quicken your pace, the jug heavy in your hands, the cold biting your knuckles. What has he seen, and what will his words demand of you? As the wind carries the stranger's voice across the square, you feel the world shift beneath your feet. The volcanic winter of 536 AD, born from a distant eruption, has reached beyond your fields, touching even the great city of Constantinople. The ash that falls is more than dust. It's a herald of change, a challenge to survive. You stand at the edge of a choice, your family's fate hanging in the balance. Will you stay, guarding the life you've built, or follow the call to the city, where hope and peril wait? The stranger's news, still unheard, promises to tip the scales. If this story has stirred your heart, share your thoughts in the comments. How would you choose in Andreas's place? Like, subscribe, and join us for the next chapter. For now, the wind carries whispers, and the stranger's words will soon reach you. Feel the earth beneath your feet, cold and unyielding, as if it holds secrets too heavy to share. The air carries the sharp tang of smoke from the village fire, mingling with the ever-present ash that dusts your skin like a second shadow. In the distance, the faint thud of hoofbeats fades, but their echo lingers in your chest, a rhythm that speaks of change. Welcome back to our tale of the volcanic winter of 536 AD, where the world trembles under a sunless sky and every choice feels like a gamble with fate. If this story wraps you in its chill embrace, hit that like button, subscribe, and tell us in the comments. Where are you as you follow this journey? By a warm hearth or under a quiet night? Let's step into the gathering storm, where a stranger's news shifts the ground beneath you. Ready? Let's go. The village square is alive with murmurs, a low hum that rises like the buzz of bees before a storm. You, Andreas, stand at its edge, the clay jug still heavy in your hands, its cold surface numbing your fingers. Kalia is beside you, her shawl drawn tight against the wind, which whips through the square, carrying the scent of pine and the faint, metallic bite of ash. The fire at the center crackles, its flames licking the air, casting a warm glow that battles the gray dusk. Shadows dance across the faces of your neighbors. Elias, his staff planted like a sentinel. Theodora, her eyes sharp despite her age. Silas, fists clenched as if ready to fight the sky itself. At the heart of the crowd stands the stranger, his cloak tattered, his face gaunt under a hood stained with dust. His voice, rough as gravel, cuts through the murmurs, each word landing like a stone in your gut. "I come from the coast," he says, his hands gesturing as if to draw the sea itself into the square. The ports are silent, the ships empty. The ash falls there too, choking the nets, starving the fishers. His eyes, dark and hollow, sweep the crowd, and you feel them linger on you for a moment, as if he sees the weight you carry. Constantinople calls for aid, but the roads are treacherous, bandits, hunger, cold. I saw men fight over a loaf of bread, their blood staining the stones. The crowd shifts, a ripple of unease passing through, and you hear the soft gasp of a woman nearby, her hand clutching a child's shoulder. The air feels heavier now, thick with the scent of fear and the fire's smoke, and you taste ash on your tongue, gritty and bitter. Kalia's hand finds yours, her fingers warm despite the chill, and you glance at her. Her face is still, but her eyes burn with questions. You think of Sophia and Mara, safe for now in your hut, their small bodies curled under the blanket, their breath soft in the quiet. The stranger's words paint a picture of a world beyond your village, one where the great city of Constantinople, with its towering walls and golden domes, is no longer a beacon of strength but a place of desperation. You've heard tales of its markets, where spices from distant lands filled the air with cinnamon and clove, where silk rustled like whispers and coins clinked like music. Now you imagine those streets silent, the air heavy with the same ash that buries your fields. The stranger, who calls himself Leon, stays in the village, taking shelter in the church. You see him later, sitting on a bench, his hands wrapped around a bowl of Theodora's broth, its steam curling like a ghost in the candlelight. The church smells of wax and damp stone, and the faint creak of the rafters overhead echoes like a sigh. You approach, your boots scuffing the floor, and sit across from him. His face, lit by the flickering light, is etched with lines that speak of long roads and sleepless nights. "Why come here?" you ask, your voice low, as if afraid to disturb the saints watching from the walls. "Why not stay in the city?" Leon sips the broth, its faint herbal scent drifting between you, and wipes his mouth with a weathered hand. "The city is a trap," he says, his voice a rasp, like wind over dry leaves. "Too many mouths, too little food. The emperor's men demand loyalty, but they can't feed their own. I came to warn the villages, prepare or flee." His words settle in you, heavy as the cold that seeps through the church's walls. You think of your fields, barren under their blanket of ash, and the granary, nearly empty save for a few sacks of moldy grain that taste of earth and despair. Fleeing means leaving the only home you've known, but staying means gambling on a harvest that may never come. Outside, the wind howls, rattling the shutters, and you hear the distant cry of a bird, sharp and fleeting, like a warning. You step out into the square, where the fire has dwindled to embers, their glow faint against the gray sky. The village feels smaller now, its houses hunched under the weight of the ash, their roofs sagging like weary shoulders. You walk home, the path familiar yet strange, the ground crunching under your boots. Kalia waits at the door, her shawl slipping to reveal a braid dusted with gray, like snow that never melts. "What did he say?" she asks, her voice soft but urgent, like the first drop of rain before a storm. You tell her of Leon's warning, of the city's hunger and the road's dangers. Her eyes narrow, and she steps closer, her hand resting on your arm, warm through the rough fabric of your tunic. "We can't stay here and starve," she says, her words steady but laced with fear. "But the girls, the journey," she trails off, and you feel the same fear, a cold knot in your chest. Sophia's laughter, Mara's small hand in yours. These are the anchors that hold you to this place. Yet the stranger's words echo, and you know the village cannot hold forever against the ash and the cold. That night, you lie awake, the straw mattress prickling your back, its earthy smell mingling with the faint smoke of the hearth. Kalia sleeps beside you, her breath steady, but you hear the soft whimpers of Mara, dreaming fitfully. The air is cold, seeping through the walls, and you pull the blanket tighter, it will scratching your skin. You think of the council's meeting, the arguments that flared like the fire in the square. Some, like Elias, spoke of staying, of praying for the son's return. Others, like Silas, urged action, send men to the city or leave altogether. You said little, but the weight of their words presses on you now, heavy as the gray sky. You rise, careful not to wake Kalia, and step outside. The night is dark, the air sharp with the scent of ash and frost. The village is silent, save for the low moan of the wind, which carries a faint sound, voices, distant but growing closer. You strain to listen, your heart quickening. Torches flicker at the edge of the village, their light cutting through the gloom like blades. Figures move in the shadows, their steps heavy, their voices urgent. Are they travelers like Leon bearing more news? Or something else, bandits drawn by the promise of what little the village has left? You grip the doorframe, its wood rough under your fingers, and feel the cold seep deeper, not just into your bones but into your soul. In the stillness of this night, as the wind carries voices from the dark, you stand at the edge of a world transformed. The volcanic winter of 536 AD, sparked by a distant eruption, has cast its shadow far beyond your village, touching even the great city of Constantinople. The ash that falls is a reminder of forces beyond your control, yet it's the human choices, stay or go, fight or flee, that shape what comes next. Leon's warning has lit a spark in the village, but the torches in the distance promise more. Who approaches and what will their arrival mean for you, for Kalia, for your daughters? If this story has gripped your heart, share your thoughts in the comments. What would you do in Andreas's place? Like, subscribe, and join us for the next chapter. For now, the night holds its breath, and the strangers draw closer. Breathe in the stillness of the village, where the air hangs heavy with the scent of ash and the faint, sour tang of fear. The ground beneath your feet is cold, dusted with gray that crunches softly, like the whisper of forgotten promises. In the distance, the low hum of voices rises, a tide of sound that pulls you toward the unknown, like a river drawing you to its depths. Welcome back to our tale of the volcanic winter of 536 AD, where the world is cloaked in shadow, and every decision feels like a thread in a fraying tapestry. If this story wraps you in its chill embrace, hit that like button, subscribe, and share in the comments. Where are you as you follow this journey? By a flickering fire or under a quiet sky? Let's step into the heart of the village, where strangers' words ignite new paths and old fears. Ready? Let's go. The torches in the square cast a wavering light, their flames hissing as they fight the damp air, painting the faces of your neighbors in shades of gold and shadow. You, Andreas, stand at the edge of the crowd, your breath clouding in the cold, your cloak heavy with the scent of damp wool and ash. Kalia is beside you, her hand gripping yours, her fingers warm but trembling, like a bird poised to take flight. The strangers, 3 men, their cloaks tattered and stained with mud, stand near the fire, their voices rough from travel. The leader, a tall man with a scar tracing his jaw like a river on a map, speaks in a low growl, each word landing like a hammer on iron. "We come from the hills," he says, his eyes scanning the crowd, sharp as a hawk's. "The emperor's men are desperate. They offer coin for grain, but the roads are plagued by thieves, and the ash spares no one." The crowd murmurs, a sound like the rustle of dry leaves, and you feel the weight of their words settle in your chest. The air is thick with the smell of burning pine and the faint, metallic bite of ash, which clings to your lips, gritty and bitter. Your neighbors' faces are a mix of fear and defiance. Elias, leaning on his staff, his eyes narrowed. Theodora, her hands knotted in her shawl, her lips moving in silent prayer. Silas, the blacksmith's apprentice, his fists clenched as if ready to strike the sky itself. The stranger's words paint a picture of a world beyond your village, where the great city of Constantinople starves under the same gray sky that buries your fields. You think of your daughters, Sophia and Mara, asleep in your hut, their small bodies curled under a blanket that smells of wool and home. The thought of their hunger, sharp as a blade, cuts deeper than the cold. Kalia leans closer, her breath warm against your ear. "What do they want from us?" she whispers, her voice steady but laced with unease, like the first note of a storm. You shake your head, your eyes fixed on the scarred man, whose name, you learn, is Theron. He speaks of a caravan forming in a nearby village, bound for Constantinople with what little grain remains. "Join us," he says, his voice rising, "and you'll have a chance at coin, at food. Stay, and you'll face the winter alone." His words spark a ripple through the crowd, some nodding, others turning away, their faces shadowed by doubt. You feel the pull of his offer, like a current tugging at your feet, but with it comes the weight of leaving your home, your fields, your girls. The village council gathers at dawn, in the church where the air is heavy with the scent of wax and myrrh. The stone walls are cold to the touch, slick with damp, and the faint drip of water echoes, a steady rhythm like a heartbeat. Father Nicetas stands at the altar, his robes frayed but clean, his hands clasped around a wooden cross that gleams faintly in the candlelight. "We must decide," he says, his voice a low rumble, like distant thunder. "Send men with the caravan, or hold what we have and pray for deliverance." His words hang in the air, heavy as the gray sky outside, and you feel the eyes of the council on you. Elias, Theodora, and others, their faces etched with the same fear that gnaws at your gut. Silas speaks first, his voice sharp, cutting through the silence like a blade. "If we send our grain, we starve. If we go, we risk everything. Bandits, cold, death." He paces, his boots scuffing the stone floor, the sound echoing like a drum. Theodora counters, her voice soft but firm, like the rustle of herbs in her hut. "The city may have work, supplies. Staying here, we have nothing but ash." You listen, your hands clenched, the rough calluses on your palms pressing into your skin. You think of your fields, barren under their gray shroud, and the granary, its sacks dwindling, the grain inside tasting of mold and despair. You want to speak, to choose, but the words stick in your throat, tangled with the memory of Mara's small voice asking why the sky is sad. You glance at Kalia, who sits beside you, her shawl slipping to reveal a braid dusted with ash, like snow that never melts. Her eyes meet yours, green and fierce, and you feel the strength in her silence, the same strength that carried her through lean years and long nights. "We can't wait for miracles," she says later. As you walk home, the path crunching under your boots, the air sharp with the scent of frost and decay. "The girls need food, Andreas. We need a plan." Her words are a spark, igniting a resolve in you, but also a fear of the road, of the city, of leaving the only home you've known. That afternoon, you work with Silas to repair a cart, its wooden frame splintered from years of use. The air smells of sawdust and iron, and the sound of your hammer rings out, sharp and steady, a counterpoint to the wind's low moan. Your hands ache, the cold biting your knuckles, but the work grounds you, each strike a reminder of the life you've built. Silas is quiet, his breath clouding as he tightens a wheel, but you see the tension in his shoulders, the same tension you feel. "Would you go?" you ask, your voice low, almost lost in the wind. He pauses, his hammer hovering, and meets your eyes. "If it meant food for my family, yes," he says, his voice rough but certain. "But the road's no promise of safety." Theron's men look like they've seen more than they say. His words linger as you finish the cart, its wheels creaking as you test them, the sound sharp in the quiet. You think of Theron's scarred face, his eyes that seem to hold secrets darker than the sky. The caravan is a chance, but also a risk. Bandits, hunger, the cold that seeps into your bones. You imagine the road to Constantinople, its dust choking your throat, the sound of wheels grinding against stone, the weight of leaving Sophia and Mara behind. Yet staying means watching them grow thinner, their laughter fading like the sun. That evening, you sit with Kalia by the hearth, the fire's warmth a faint comfort against the chill that creeps through the walls. The room smells of smoke and damp wool, and the faint crackle of the flames is a fragile song in the silence. Sophia and Mara sleep nearby, their breaths soft, their faces peaceful despite the hunger you know they feel. Kalia stirs a pot of thin broth, its herbal scent faint but comforting, and you sip it slowly, the warmth spreading through your chest, though it does little to fill the ache in your stomach. If we go, Kalia says, her voice low like a prayer, we go together. No one stays behind. Her words are a vow, and you nod, feeling the weight of her resolve, but also the fear of what lies ahead. As night falls, the village grows quiet, the air thick with the scent of ash and frost. You step outside, the cold biting your face, the ground crunching under your boots. The sky is a featureless gray, the stars hidden, and the silence is broken only by the distant howl of a wolf, its cry weaving through the dark like a thread of warning. You think of Theron's offer, of the caravan waiting in the next village, of the city that might hold salvation or ruin. Your hand rests on the doorframe, its wood rough under your fingers, and you feel the pull of two paths: stay and fight the winter, or risk everything on the road. Then, a sound sharp, urgent, like the snap of a branch. You turn, your heart quickening, and see a figure approaching through the gloom, their torch casting a wavering light. It's Silas, his face pale, his breath ragged. Andreas, he says, his voice tight. The council's decided. They're sending men with the caravan. They want you to go. His words hit like a stone, and you feel the world tilt, the cold seeping deeper. What will you choose and what will it cost? In the quiet of this night, as the ash falls like a silent snow, you stand at the edge of a choice that could reshape your life. The volcanic winter of 536 AD, born from a distant eruption, has cast its shadow over your village and beyond, touching even the great city of Constantinople. The stranger's arrival has stirred the village, their words a spark in the dark, but the road they offer is fraught with peril. Will you join the caravan, risking everything for a chance at survival, or stay, clinging to the hope of a son that may never return? Silas's news is a turning point, and the choice is yours. If this story has gripped your heart, share your thoughts in the comments. What would you do in Andreas's place? Like, subscribe, and join us for the next chapter. For now, the night holds its secrets, and the road to Constantinople beckons. The air hums with the weight of unspoken choices, each breath laced with the sharp, metallic scent of ash that lingers like a ghost. Your boots sink into the cold, gritty earth, the crunch beneath your soles a reminder of the world's slow decay. In the distance, the village fire flickers, its light a frail defiance against the gray shroud that smothers the sky. Welcome back to our tale of the volcanic winter of 536 AD, where shadows stretch long and every step feels like a leap into the unknown. If this story pulls you into its icy grip, hit that like button, subscribe, and share in the comments. Where are you now? Immersed in this journey? By a quiet lamp or under a starless night? Let's walk the path where decisions grow heavy and the road to Constantinople looms. Take a deep breath and let's continue. You, Andreas, stand in the doorway of your hut, Silas's words still ringing in your ears like the toll of a distant bell. The council's decision to send men with the caravan feels like a stone in your chest, heavy and cold. The night is dark, the air sharp with frost, and the faint howl of the wind carries the scent of pine and decay, a reminder of the fields that no longer yield. Silas lingers, his torch casting a wavering glow across his face, his eyes searching yours. They chose you, he says again, his voice low, rough, like the scrape of iron on stone. You're strong, Andreas. The village needs you to go. His words are both a plea and a burden, and you feel the weight of your family, Kalia, Sophia, Mara, anchoring you to this place, even as the road calls. Inside, the hut is warm, the hearth's embers glowing faintly, their soft crackle a fragile song against the silence. The air smells of smoke and damp wool, and Kalia sits by the fire, her hands folded in her lap, her green eyes fixed on you. Sophia and Mara sleep nearby, their small forms curled under a blanket that scratches your fingers when you tuck it around them, its fibers heavy with the scent of home. You kneel beside Kalia, the dirt floor cold against your knees, and tell her of the council's choice. Her face is still, but her eyes flicker with a storm of emotions. Fear, resolve, defiance. If you go, we go, she says, her voice steady, like the first note of a hymn. We're not splitting apart. Her words are a vow, but they carry a tremor, like the faint creak of a branch before it snaps. You nod, your throat tight, and feel the warmth of her hand against yours, her calluses a map of shared struggles. The thought of taking your family on the road to Constantinople, through hills plagued by bandits and cold, sends a chill deeper than the night's frost. You imagine the city's walls, towering and gray, its streets choked with ash and desperation. You've heard tales of its markets, where the air once carried the sweet scent of figs and the sharp tang of wine, where voices rose in a chorus of trade. Now you picture those streets silent, the air heavy with hunger, the same hunger that gnaws at your daughters' bellies. Staying means watching them fade, but leaving means risking everything. Morning comes, gray and unyielding, the sky a seamless veil that hides the sun. You gather with the others chosen for the caravan, Silas, young and fierce, Elias, old but stubborn, and two others, brothers named Petros and Nikos, their faces grim under hoods dusted with ash. The village square is quiet, the fire reduced to a pile of embers, its faint warmth a fleeting comfort against the cold that bites your fingers. The air smells of damp earth and the sour tang of fear, and the ground crunches underfoot, a reminder of the ash that has stolen your harvest. Theron, the scarred stranger, stands before you, his cloak stiff with mud, his voice a low growl. We leave at dusk, he says, his eyes scanning the group like a general sizing up his men. Bring what you can carry, grain, tools, courage. You return home to prepare, your steps heavy, each one echoing the thud of your heart. Kalia is packing, her hands deft as she wraps dried figs and a few crusts of bread in a cloth, their faint sweetness a ghost of better days. The bread is hard, its taste gritty with ash, but it's all you have. You fill a leather sack with tools, a knife, its blade worn but sharp, a flint for fire, a small clay pot for water, its surface cool and smooth. Sophia watches, her eyes wide, clutching a wooden doll you carved last winter, its edges softened by her small hands. Will we see the city, Papa? She asks, her voice high and clear, cutting through the quiet like a bell. You force a smile, your throat tight. Yes, little one, you say, though the words feel like a lie. Mara tugs at your cloak, her small fingers cold against the rough fabric. Will it be warm there? She asks, her voice soft. like the rustle of leaves. You kneel, brushing a strand of hair from her face, and feel the weight of her trust, heavy as the sack you'll carry. Warmer than here, you say, hoping it's true. Kalia meets your eyes, her expression unreadable, and you see the same resolve that carried her through the birth of your daughters, through nights when the wind howled and the roof leaked. She hands you a small bundle of herbs from Theodora, their sharp scent cutting through the air, a reminder of the healer's quiet strength. The village gathers at dusk to see you off, their faces pale in the torchlight, their voices a low murmur, like the hum of a distant storm. The air is thick with the scent of smoke and frost, and the ground is slick with damp ash, clinging to your boots like a second skin. Father Nicetas stands at the edge of the square, his cross raised, his voice a steady chant that weaves through the crowd, offering blessings for the road. Theodora presses a small pouch into Kalia's hands, its contents rattling softly. Dried herbs, perhaps, or charms against the dark. Keep them safe, she whispers, her voice rough but warm, like the crackle of a fire. Theron leads the way, his torch casting a flickering light that dances across the path. The caravan is small, just your group and a cart piled with sacks of grain, its wheels creaking under the weight, the sound sharp in the quiet. You walk beside Kalia, Sophia and Mara clinging to her skirts, their small steps unsteady on the uneven ground. The air is cold, biting your cheeks, and the scent of ash grows stronger as you leave the village behind, its houses fading into the gray. The road stretches ahead, a dark ribbon winding through hills that loom like silent giants, their slopes dusted with the same ash that buries your fields. Silas walks beside you, his breath clouding, his eyes scanning the shadows. The hills are trouble, he mutters, his voice low, like the growl of a dog sensing danger. Theron says bandits wait there, hungry as we are. His words send a shiver through you, colder than the wind, and you grip the knife at your belt, its handle smooth but reassuring. You think of the stories Leon told, of men fighting over scraps, their blood staining the stones. The road feels alive now, its silence heavy with unseen eyes, its darkness a canvas for your fears. Night falls fully, and the caravan stops to rest in a clearing, the cart's wheels sinking into the soft earth. Theron builds a fire, its flames small but fierce, their crackle a defiant song against the cold. The air smells of burning wood and the faint, sour tang of sweat, and you huddle close to Kalia and the girls, their warmth a fragile shield. You share a crust of bread, its taste dry and bitter, and sip water from the clay pot, its coolness a fleeting relief. The hills loom around you, their shapes indistinct in the dark, and the wind carries a faint sound, a rustle, a snap, too deliberate to be the forest's voice. Theron's head snaps up, his hand on his sword, his eyes glinting in the firelight. Quiet, he hisses, and the group falls silent, the air thick with tension. You pull Sophia and Mara closer, their small bodies trembling, and feel Kalia's hand tighten on yours. The rustle grows louder, closer, and you hear the faint crunch of footsteps, deliberate and stealthy. Shadows move at the edge of the clearing, and your heart pounds, each beat echoing the question. Friend or foe? The fire crackles, its light a frail barrier against the dark, and you know the road has only begun to test you. In the flickering light of this fire, as shadows creep closer, you feel the weight of a world reshaped by ash and cold. The volcanic winter of 536 AD, born from a distant eruption, has driven you from your village onto a road where hope and danger intertwine. Theron's caravan is a lifeline, but the rustle in the dark hints at threats unseen. Will you face bandits, or is it something else? Travelers perhaps as desperate as you? Your family's survival hangs in the balance, and the choices you make will echo beyond this night. If this story has stirred your soul, share your thoughts in the comments. What would you do in Andreas's place? Like, subscribe, and join us for the next chapter. For now, the shadows draw near, and the road holds its secrets. The darkness presses close, heavy with the scent of damp earth and the sharp sting of fear, like a blade held just out of sight. The fire's faint crackle is the only sound breaking the silence, its warmth a fragile shield against the cold that seeps into your bones. Shadows shift at the edge of the clearing, their movements quick and deliberate, like whispers of a threat you cannot yet name. Welcome back to our tale of the volcanic winter of 536 AD, where the road to Constantinople tests the heart and the world lies cloaked in ash. If this story grips you with its icy fingers, hit that like button, subscribe, and share in the comments. Where are you now? Drawn into this journey? By a quiet hearth or under a shadowed sky? Let's step into the night, where danger lurks and choices cut deep. Breathe deeply, and let's continue. You, Andreas, crouch by the fire, your hand tight around the knife at your belt, its wooden handle worn smooth by years of use. The air is thick with the scent of burning pine and the faint, sour tang of sweat, and the cold bites your knuckles, turning them raw. Kalia kneels beside you, her shawl pulled tight around Sophia and Mara, their small bodies pressed close, their breaths quick and shallow. The girls' eyes are wide, reflecting the fire's glow, and you feel their fear like a weight in your chest, heavier than the sack of grain you carry. Theron, the scarred leader of the caravan, stands at the edge of the clearing, his sword drawn, its blade glinting like a sliver of moonlight. His voice is a low hiss, barely audible over the wind's moan. Stay low. Don't move. The rustle in the shadows grows louder, a crunch of leaves and twigs that feels too deliberate, too close. The air carries a new scent now. Leather, unwashed bodies, the faint metallic tang of iron. Your heart pounds, each beat echoing the snap of a branch, and you glance at Silas, crouched nearby, his hammer gripped like a weapon, his eyes scanning the dark. Elias, older and slower, clutches his staff, his weathered face taut with resolve, while Petros and Nikos, the brothers, huddle near the cart, their hands on makeshift spears. The cart itself looms behind you, its wheels sunk into the soft earth. The sacks of grain it carries a treasure that could draw wolves, human or otherwise. A figure steps into the firelight, then another, their shapes indistinct but menacing, cloaks flapping like wings in the wind. There are 3 of them, their faces shadowed under hoods, but you see the glint of steel, a dagger, a short sword. The leader, a wiry man with a voice like gravel, speaks first. Your grain, he says, his words sharp, cutting through the silence. Hand it over, and you walk away. Theron steps forward, his sword steady, his scarred face unyielding. This grain is for the city, he says, his voice low but firm, like stone against stone. You'll have to take it from us. The air grows taut, the fires crackle now a roar in your ears, and you feel Kalia's hand tighten on yours, her fingers cold but strong. You think of the village you left behind, its fields buried under ash, its silence heavier than the gray sky. You think of Sophia's wooden doll, Mara's small voice asking for warmth, and the promise you made to Kalia, to stay together, no matter the cost. The bandits shift, their boots scuffing the earth, and you know this moment could break everything. You rise slowly, your knife ready, its weight a small comfort against the fear that claws at your throat. The standoff shatters as the wiry man lunges, his dagger flashing. Theron meets him with a clash of steel, the sound sharp and jarring, like a bell cracked in two. Silas swings his hammer, catching another bandit's arm, and the man's cry pierces the night, raw and animal. You push Kalia and the girls behind the cart, its wood rough against your palms, and turn to face the third bandit, a hulking figure who charges with a club raised. Your knife feels small, but you move, instinct driving you, and slash at his arm, feeling the blade bite through cloth and flesh. He roars, stumbling back, and you feel a surge of adrenaline, hot and fierce, drowning the cold for a moment. The fight is chaos, a blur of shouts and steel, the firelight casting wild shadows that dance like demons across the clearing. The air smells of blood now, sharp and coppery, mingling with the ash that falls softly, like snow that burns. Petros grapples with the wiry man, his spear snapping under a blow, while Nikos pulls him back, their breaths clouding in the cold. Elias swings his staff, slow but steady, and you hear the thud of wood against bone. Theron fights like a man possessed, his sword a blur, and the bandits falter, their leader clutching a wound, his dagger clattering to the ground. They retreat, melting into the dark, their footsteps fading into the wind's howl. The clearing falls silent, save for the fire's crackle and the ragged breathing of your group. Theron wipes his blade, his face grim, blood streaking his cloak. Silas leans on his hammer, his chest heaving, while Elias mutters a prayer, his staff trembling in his hands. You turn to Kalia, who holds Sophia and Mara close, their faces pale but unharmed. "Are you hurt?" you ask, your voice rough, like the scrape of stone. She shakes her head, but her eyes are wide, reflecting the fire's glow and something deeper. Fear, yes, but also a fierce determination. The caravan moves on at dawn, the sky still gray, the air heavy with ash and the faint scent of blood that lingers on your hands. The cart's wheels creak, a steady rhythm against the crunch of the ash-dusted path, and the hills loom around you, their slopes silent but watchful. You walk beside Kalia, Sophia and Mara clinging to her, their small steps unsteady but resolute. The girls are quiet, their faces smudged with dirt, and you feel a pang of guilt for the fear they've seen, the world they're inheriting. The road stretches ahead, winding through valleys where the air grows colder, the scent of frost sharper, and you wonder what lies beyond the next rise. Theron walks at the front, his stride steady, his sword sheathed but ready. He speaks little, but when he does, his voice is a low growl, like the rumble of distant thunder. "The bandits won't be the last," he says, his eyes scanning the horizon. "The road to Constantinople is hungry, and we're not the only ones on it." His words settle in you, heavy as the sack you carry, its weight pressing into your shoulder. You think of the city, its promise of food and work, but also its dangers, hunger, disease, the desperation Leon spoke of. You glance at Silas, his hammer slung across his back, his face set in a grim line. "Worth it?" you ask, your voice low. He shrugs, his eyes on the road. "For now." That night, you camp in a hollow, the fire small but warm, its light a faint comfort against the dark. The air smells of damp earth and the faint sweetness of dried figs, shared sparingly among the group. You sit with Kalia, her hand resting on yours, her warmth a lifeline. Sophia and Mara sleep, their breaths soft, and you listen to the sounds of the night, the wind's low moan, the distant cry of an owl. Then, another sound, faint but growing, a low rumble, like the earth itself stirring. Theron rises, his hand on his sword, his eyes fixed on the darkness beyond the fire. "Horses," he mutters, and you feel the cold tighten around your heart. Are they friend or foe? And what new trial does the road hold? In the flickering light of this fire, as the rumble of hooves draws near, you feel the weight of a world remade by ash and cold. The volcanic winter of 536 AD has driven you from your village onto a road where every step tests your resolve. The bandits' attack was a warning, a glimpse of the hunger that stalks the land, but the approaching horses promise a new challenge. Are they allies bringing aid, or another threat, drawn by the scent of your grain? Your family's survival hangs on the choices you make, and the road to Constantinople grows no kinder. If this story has stirred your soul, share your thoughts in the comments. What would you do in Andreas's place? Like, subscribe, and join us for the next chapter. For now, the night holds its breath, and the hooves draw closer. The night hums with tension, a low vibration that settles in your chest like the weight of a coming storm. The fire's glow casts trembling shadows across the hollow, their shapes twisting on the damp earth, slick with ash and frost. The air carries a faint rumble now, a pulse of hooves growing louder, each thud a heartbeat that quickens your own. Welcome back to our tale of the volcanic winter of 536 AD, where the road to Constantinople is a thread stretched taut, and every sound could mean salvation or ruin. If this story grips you with its shadowed embrace, hit that like button, subscribe, and share in the comments. Where are you now? Lost in this journey? By a quiet candle or under a restless sky? Let's step into the dark, where the unknown draws near and choices cut deeper than the cold. Breathe slowly and let's continue. You, Andreas, stand at the edge of the camp, your hand tight around the knife at your belt, its handle worn smooth but cold against your palm. The air is sharp with the scent of damp earth and the faint, acrid bite of ash, which clings to your lips like a bitter memory. Kalia crouches beside you, her shawl wrapped around Sophia and Mara, their small forms huddled close, their breaths quick and shallow in the chill. The fire crackles weakly, its warmth barely reaching you, its light a frail barrier against the darkness that presses in from the hills. Theron, the scarred leader, stands at the ready, his sword drawn, its blade catching the fire's glow like a sliver of starlight. His eyes, sharp and unyielding, scan the shadows, and his voice is a low growl. Hold steady. We don't know who they are. The rumble of hooves grows louder, a steady drum that echoes in your chest, and with it comes the scent of horses, sweat, leather, and the faint musk of damp hides. Silas grips his hammer, his knuckles white, while Elias leans on his staff, his weathered face taut but calm, like a man who's seen too many winters to fear another. Petros and Nikos, the brothers, stand by the cart, their spears raised, the wood creaking under their grip. The cart, piled with sacks of grain, looms behind you, its wheels sunk into the soft earth, a treasure that has already drawn blood. You think of the bandits, their daggers flashing in the firelight, and wonder if these newcomers bring more of the same or something worse. A figure emerges from the dark, then another, their shapes resolving in the torchlight. For riders, cloaked and hooded, their horses snorting clouds of breath into the cold air. The leader dismounts, his boots crunching on the ash-dusted ground, and pulls back his hood to reveal a face weathered by travel, with eyes that glint like polished stone. "We mean no harm," he says, his voice steady but worn, like a blade dulled by use. "I'm Gavril from the Emperor's Guard. We're scouting for supplies, for men willing to serve Constantinople." His words hang in the air, heavy with promise and threat, and you feel Kalia's hand tighten on yours, her fingers cold but firm, like a root clinging to rock. Theron steps forward, his sword lowered but not sheathed, his scarred face unreadable. "What does the Emperor offer?" he asks, his voice a low rumble, like thunder over the hills. Gavril gestures to his men, who carry small sacks slung across their saddles, the faint clink of coins audible even over the wind's moan. Coin for grain, he says, and protection for those who join us. The city starves, but its walls still stand. Serve and you'll eat. His words spark a murmur among your group, and you see Silas's eyes narrow, his hammer shifting in his grip. Elias mutters a prayer, his staff tapping the ground, a soft rhythm against the tension. You glance at Kalia, her green eyes fierce in the firelight, and see the same question that burns in you. Is this a lifeline or a trap? The air is thick with the scent of horse sweat and ash, and the ground beneath your feet feels unsteady, as if the earth itself doubts the stranger's words. You think of your village, its fields buried under gray, its silence heavier than the sky. You think of Sophia's wooden doll, Mara's small hand in yours, and the hunger that gnaws at them even now. Gavril's offer is a flicker of hope, but the road has already taught you that hope comes with a price. Bandits, cold, the blood you've already spilled. Will you take women and children? You ask, your voice rough, like the scrape of stone on stone. Gavril's eyes meet yours, and for a moment, you see something flicker. Pity, perhaps, or calculation. The city needs strong hands, he says, but families are welcome, if they can keep up. His words are a challenge, and you feel Kalia's grip tighten, her resolve a warmth against the cold. Sophia stirs, her voice small but clear. Will there be food, Papa? Her question cuts deeper than the wind, and you kneel, brushing her hair from her face, its strands soft but dusted with ash. We'll find food, you say, hoping the lie doesn't show in your eyes. The caravan decides to join Gavril's men, a choice born of necessity rather than trust. The night is spent preparing, the air heavy with the scent of smoke and the faint sweetness of dried figs, shared sparingly among the group. You pack the cart tighter, the sacks of grain creaking under their own weight, their rough burlap scratching your hands. Kalia wraps the girls in extra cloaks, their wool heavy with the scent of home, and you feel a pang of guilt for the road you're dragging them onto. The fire dies to embers, its crackle fading, and the hills loom around you, their slopes silent but watchful, like sentinels guarding secrets. At dawn, the caravan moves, the cart's wheels groaning against the ash-dusted path, the sound a steady counterpoint to the thud of hooves. Gavril's men ride ahead, their horses' breath clouding in the cold, their armor clinking faintly, a sound that feels both protective and ominous. The air is sharp with frost, and the scent of damp earth mingles with the ever-present ash, which falls softly, like snow that never melts. You walk beside Kalia, Sophia and Mara clinging to her, their small steps struggling to keep pace. The girls are quiet, their faces smudged with dirt, and you feel their weight on your heart, heavier than the sack you carry. Theron walks nearby, his sword at his side, his eyes scanning the hills. These men are no saviors, he mutters, his voice low, meant for you alone. The Emperor's guard takes more than they give. His words settle in you, cold as the ground beneath your feet, and you glance at Gavril riding tall, his cloak flapping like a banner. You wonder what he's seen in the city, what truths he carries under his polished words. Silas, walking behind you, grunts in agreement, his hammer slung across his back. We're trading one danger for another, he says, his voice rough, like the grind of a millstone. As the day wears on, the road grows steeper, the hills closing in, their slopes dark with barren trees, their branches clawing at the gray sky. The air grows colder, the scent of frost sharper, and you feel the ache in your legs, the weight of the sack pressing into your shoulder. The cart's wheels catch on stones, each jolt a reminder of the fragile hope you carry. Kalia hums softly to the girls, a tune from better days, its notes faint but warm, like a memory of sunlight. You listen, your heart lifting for a moment, but the sound is drowned by a new noise, a low, distant roar, like the earth itself groaning. Theron halts, his hand raised, and Gavril's men draw their swords, their eyes scanning the hills. The roar grows louder, closer, and you feel the ground tremble faintly, a vibration that crawls up your spine. Dust rises from the path ahead, and you hear the faint clatter of stones, like bones rattling in a grave. Landslide, Theron says, his voice sharp, cutting through the murmurs. The caravan freezes, the air thick with fear, and you pull Kalia and the girls close, their warmth a lifeline against the cold. The road ahead is hidden in dust, and you wonder if it will swallow you whole, or if something worse waits beyond. In the trembling silence of this moment, as the earth itself seems to turn against you, you feel the weight of a world reshaped by ash and cold. The volcanic winter of 536 AD has driven you onto this road, where every step tests your courage and every stranger brings a new question. Gavril's offer is a flickering hope, but the roar ahead, a landslide or something more, threatens to bury it. Will you push forward, risking the road's wrath, or turn back to a village that offers no solace? Your family's survival hangs on the answer, and the dust is rising. If this story has stirred your soul, share your thoughts in the comments. What would you do in Andreas's place? Like, subscribe, and join us for the next chapter. For now, the earth holds its breath, and the road ahead trembles. The earth trembles beneath your feet, a low growl that reverberates through the hollow, as if the world itself mourns its lost light. Dust swirls in the air, gritty and sharp, coating your tongue with the taste of ash and stone, a reminder of the sky that forgot the sun. Around you, the caravan stands frozen, silhouettes etched against the gray dawn, their breaths clouding in the cold like fragile ghosts. Welcome to the final chapter of our tale of the volcanic winter of 536 AD, where the road to Constantinople has tested your soul, and the choices you've made weave into the tapestry of history. If this story has held you in its shadowed embrace, hit that like button, subscribe, and share in the comments. Where are you now, as this journey ends? By a warm fire or under a quiet sky? Let's walk the final steps, where the past meets the present, and the echoes of survival linger. Breathe deeply, and let's bring this tale to its close. You, Andreas, grip Kalia's hand, her fingers cold but steady, a lifeline in the chaos. Sophia and Mara cling to her, their small faces pale, their eyes wide with fear as the ground shakes, the roar of the landslide growing louder, a beast awakening in the hills. The air is thick with dust, its scent sharp and choking, mingling with the faint tang of horse sweat and the ever-present ash that falls like a silent snow. Theron, the scarred leader, shouts orders, his voice cutting through the din like a blade. Back! To the clearing! His sword is drawn, but it's useless against the earth's wrath. Gavril, the emperor's man, reins in his horse, its hooves pawing the ground, the sound a frantic counterpoint to the rumble ahead. You pull your family back, the cart's wheels creaking as Silas and the brothers, Petros and Nikos, struggle to turn it. The sacks of grain, your village's last hope, shift and groan, their burlap rough against your hands as you help steady them. The fire from last night's camp is gone, its embers buried under ash, but the memory of its warmth lingers, a fleeting comfort against the cold that bites your cheeks. Elias, leaning on his staff, mutters a prayer, his voice lost in the wind's howl, which carries the scent of frost and the faint, sour tang of fear. The landslide's roar peaks, then fades, leaving a heavy silence, broken only by the clatter of loose stones and the ragged breathing of the group. Theron scouts ahead, his boots crunching on the ash-dusted path, and returns with a grim nod. The road's blocked, he says, his scarred face taut, his eyes glinting in the gray light. But there's a path through the valley, narrow but passable. Gavril's men exchange glances, their armor clinking faintly, and you feel the weight of their presence. Protection, yes, but also a reminder of the Empire's hunger, as desperate as your own. Kalia meets your eyes, her green gaze fierce but weary, and you know the question she won't ask aloud. Can we make it? You think of the village you left, its fields dead under ash, and the city ahead, its promise of food shadowed by danger. The valley path is a gamble, but turning back is no longer a choice. The caravan moves, slower now, the cart's wheels grinding against the rocky path, each jolt a reminder of the fragile hope you carry. The valley is narrow, its walls looming like silent giants, their slopes dark with barren trees, their branches clawing at the gray sky. The air is colder here, the scent of damp stone and frost sharp in your nostrils, and the ash falls softly, dusting your cloak like a shroud. Sophia walks beside you, clutching her wooden doll, its edges worn smooth by her small hands, while Mara holds Kalia's skirt, her steps unsteady but determined. You hum a tune to calm them, a melody from better days, its notes faint but warm, like a memory of sunlight. The sound weaves through the silence, a thread of defiance against the dark. Gavril rides ahead, his horse's hoofs thudding softly, while Theron walks at the rear, his sword ready, his eyes scanning the shadows. Silas stays close, his hammer slung across his back, his breath clouding in the cold. This valley feels wrong, he mutters, his voice low, like the growl of a dog sensing danger. You nod, feeling the same unease, a prickling at the back of your neck, as if the hills themselves watch you. The path narrows, the walls closing in, and the air grows heavier, the scent of ash now mingled with something new, smoke, distant but growing stronger. You glance at Kalia, her face set in a determined line, and feel a surge of love, fierce and raw, for the woman who walks this road with you. Hours pass, the caravan moving in silence, the only sounds the creak of the cart, the soft crunch of boots, and the faint hum of your tune. Then a cry sharp, urgent from Gavril at the front. You freeze, your hand on your knife, its handle cold but familiar. The valley opens into a wider plain, and there, in the distance, you see it. Constantinople, its walls rising like a fortress against the gray sky, their stone weathered but unyielding. But between you and the city lies a camp, tents, fires, figures moving in the haze. The smoke you smelled is theirs, its scent sharp with burning wood and something sweeter, like roasting meat. Your stomach twists, hunger warring with fear, and you wonder, are they refugees, like you, or something more dangerous? Theron calls a halt, and the caravan gathers in a tight circle, the cart at its center, its grain a treasure you've bled to protect. Gavril dismounts, his face grim, his hand on his sword. They're not imperial, he says, his voice low, like the rumble of distant thunder. Could be traitors, could be raiders. His words spark a murmur, and you feel Kalia's hand tighten on yours, her warmth a lifeline. Sophia whispers, "Are we there, Papa?" And you nod, though the city feels both close and impossibly far. Mara clings to Kalia, her small voice muffled, "I'm hungry." Her words cut deeper than the cold, and you think of the figs in your sack, their faint sweetness long gone, their taste now only ash. Theron and Gavril confer, their voices low, their gestures sharp. Silas joins them, his hammer ready, while Elias kneels, his staff planted in the earth, his lips moving in prayer. You stand with Kalia, the girls between you, and feel the weight of the moment, heavy as the gray sky. The camp ahead is a mystery, its fires a beacon of hope or a trap. You think of the bandits, the landslide, the road that has tested you at every turn. Constantinople's walls are in sight, but the final steps feel the hardest. "We go forward," Theron says at last, his voice firm, his scarred face resolute. Together, the caravan approaches the camp, the air thick with smoke and the faint scent of bread, a cruel tease to your empty stomach. Figures emerge from the tents, their faces shadowed, their hands empty but wary. A woman steps forward, her cloak patched, her voice clear but cautious. "Who are you, and what do you bring?" Theron answers, his sword sheathed but ready, and you feel the tension, a thread stretched taut. The city's walls loom closer, their stone a promise of shelter, but the camp stands in your way, its intentions unclear. You hold Kalia's hand, Sophia and Mara close, and wait, your heart pounding, for the words that will decide your fate. The woman, who calls herself Livia, leads you to her camp, her people a mix of refugees and traders, their faces gaunt but hopeful. They share their fire, its warmth a balm against the cold, and a small loaf of bread, its crust hard but its taste a fleeting joy, like a memory of summer. They too are bound for Constantinople, driven by the same ash and hunger, and you learn their stories, of villages buried, of families lost, of a sky that refuses to clear. Livia speaks of the city, its markets empty but its churches full, its emperor praying while his people starve. "There's work there," she says, her voice soft, like the rustle of leaves. "But it's a hard place now. You'll need strength." You camp with them that night. The fires crackle a steady song, the air heavy with smoke and hope. Kalia hums to the girls, her tune weaving through the murmurs, and you feel a flicker of peace, fragile but real. The next morning, you reach Constantinople's gates, their iron cold under your touch, their guards weary but welcoming. The city is not the golden dream you imagined. Its streets are gray, its air thick with ash, but it offers shelter, work, a chance. You find a small room, its walls damp but sturdy, and share a meal of thin soup, its warmth spreading through you, a promise of survival. As you sit in that small room, the volcanic winter of 536 AD fading into memory, you feel the weight of the journey lift, if only slightly. The eruption that darkened the sky reshaped your world, driving you from your village, through bandit attacks and landslides, to a city that endures despite its wounds. Your family is safe, for now, their warmth a light against the gray. The ash still falls, but its echo lingers in the resilience you've found, in Kalia's strength, in Sophia's hope, in Mara's trust. Today, we see those echoes in the stories we tell, the bread we share, the cities we rebuild. If this tale has moved you, share your thoughts in the comments. What did you feel walking with Andreas? Like, subscribe and let these stories live on. The ash has settled, but its lessons endure, and so do we.